So we finally have the early spoilers for chapter 14 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, and it pretty much shows that Sakura has returned to the story. Now the statements made in these spoilers does have some implications on the healing factor established for Naruto characters in the original series, so we have a lot to discuss in regards to that, but of course we're gonna start from the top. Now of course we have no idea when this took place in the chapter itself because we're gonna have to wait until the spoilers come out to see. But yeah, it does seem like Sakura is using her medical ninjutsu to heal Inojin, but she's also doing something else which is gonna be relevant later on. Now she goes on to say that this is amazing. I can hardly believe that he was stabbed through the torso. It's almost completely healed. So apparently Himawari didn't fully heal his body. There's some damaged tissue, I would assume, and that's what Sakura is finishing up with her medical ninjutsu. But what I found interesting about this is that Sakura found this interesting or amazing. And the reason being is that we've seen something like this before in the Naruto universe when it comes to even Naruto back in part 1, healing damage done to his body after tanking a Chidori to his chest. Now I will clarify by saying that yeah, Naruto didn't take the Chidori directly to any vital organs. As Sasuke himself pointed out, Naruto was able to redirect the hit to his shoulders, but his lung was still partly damaged. So Naruto was able to heal his entire shoulder bone, so this isn't just tissue damage, this is bone damage. He was able to reconstruct that and even his lung, or partly his lung, in seconds. This really didn't take long. So even back then, this was an insane feat given what happened. And then you fast forward to Naruto Shippuden, and you even had Sakura in the situation with Madara himself, and he was cut in half by Sasuke before he teleported to the Kamiyu dimension. Now I will say that you could argue that Sakura didn't know about this, although that would have been a bit weird since the other half of his body was left on the battlefield, which you could argue that she should have been able to sense given the potency of the chakra that existed in that lower half. Even so, you could still argue that she wasn't aware of this because Madara teleported back to the original dimension and he was already fully healed. But even putting this event aside, you could even go back to the war again, where you pretty much had Tsunade being cut in half by Madara's Susanoo, and she was able to stay alive the entire time. And even though Tsunade wasn't able to heal herself because she had to be saved by Orochimaru by having her feed on Karin's blood, that wasn't because she doesn't have the ability to do it, but more so because she couldn't do it in that specific instance. And that's because she had to keep the other Kages alive using her chakra. So outside of that scenario, she could have put herself back together after being cut in half, which is absolutely insane. So something like this shouldn't be surprising to Sakura, who worked under Tsunade and learned about the methodic regeneration jutsu from Tsunade as well. So that's why I'm not sure why she's surprised by this being a possibility. Although I will say that it is possible that she's looking at this from the perspective of someone who doesn't have methodic regeneration, but more so someone who has a tailed beast, so that would be Himawari. So this is why I have to wait until we get the full context of when this conversation took place and what she knows at this point in time, because technically Naruto didn't show Sakura any feat of healing such damages even during the war, even though he was carrying everyone and healing everyone using the Nine-Tails chakra. I mean, he was more so healing minor damages and protecting people. He wasn't restoring limbs and organs, so I guess this does make sense. Now we also have the rest of Team 10 in the room as well, and Chocho is pretty much wondering when he's gonna wake up because he's currently unconscious. And Sakura responds by saying that the flow of chakra inside him has been blocked, but it's okay if I ease the flow. Now this might have been, but it will be okay if I ease the flow, but we'll see when the full chapter comes out. And she goes on to say that he'll probably wake up soon. You did the right thing by bringing him here. Now this also goes back to Naruto Shippuden again, because this happened back when Naruto first met Orochimaru in Shippuden and then transformed into the Four Tails for the very first time, which was absolutely insane. Yo, this fight was crazy. But yeah, that's not the point. The point is that Naruto transformed into the Four Tails and he slapped Sakura because you're trying to control him and get him to transform back into Naruto. But of course, he didn't have control over Kurama at that point in time, so he attacked her instead. Now where this connects is that even though Sakura was able to heal the visible damage done to her body, she wasn't able to fully recover from the damage itself because the Nine-Tails chakra, or the Tail Beast chakra itself, is somewhat poisonous, it's toxic. And this goes back to the Gold and Silver brothers, Kinkaku and Ginkaku. They once got consumed by the Nine-Tails, and yes, I'm referring to Kurama, and while inside the stomach of the Nine-Tails, they consumed the stomach wall. And in doing so, they gained the ability to transform into miniature versions of the Nine-Tails, which is crazy. Now of course, others tried to replicate this using the other tail beasts, but they weren't successful, so they died. And that's because again, the Nine-Tails, or the Tail Beast chakra, is in itself poisonous to some humans. And the reason why I say some humans is because the reason why the Gold and Silver brothers were successful is because they're descendants of Hagoromo and Otsutsuki. So yeah, Sakura's pretty much getting destroyed from the inside, so he was messing messing with her chakra flow, she couldn't need chakra, and she couldn't fight. She was just in pain the entire time. And she had to be saved by Kabuto, who at that time was a better medical ninjutsu user. Although some would still argue that he's still better, but of course that's an argument for another day. But yeah, this all goes back to Inojin because even though he wasn't attacked by like a tail beast bomb or a tail beast tail like Sakura was, he was still attacked by an attack created by a tail beast, because the Shinjus are basically god trees who are pretty much portions of the 10 tails. So it's still tail beast chakra. So the wood style used by Jura is in fact still imbued with his chakra, which is poisonous to some humans, and that might be the case for Inojin. So Sakura is probably trying to remove that chakra from his system, thus causing him to regain consciousness because the disruption is no longer there. What I will say is that I could be wrong here and it has nothing to do with the tail beast chakra, and it could be like a splinter of wood release is like stuck in his chakra network or something, and it's blocking the flow itself. And there is precedence for this because I mentioned this in my video that I released, I believe 2 days ago or 3 days ago, where I mentioned that Boruto could get ice release, right? And there's this female character in one of Kakashi's novels who has the ability to use ice release, and this allows her to plant tiny ice particles on someone's body, which is then activated remotely, or she can do it by touching them, and that then prevents them from molding chakra. She did this to Kakashi. Mind you, Kakashi is stated to be stronger than the version of himself that fought Madara and Obito in the war, and she was able to easily disable his chakra system with a tiny ice particle. Now, it wasn't fully explained how she did this, but I assume she did it by injecting that particle into his chakra system and blocking the pathway itself. I guess it's like having a blood clot or something similar. So I could also see this being the case for Inojin, you know, maybe a tiny piece of the wood broke off into his system and that's why he can't wake up, and that's what's blocking his chakra pathway. I don't know, you know, maybe it makes sense. Now, something else I did find interesting back in chapter 13 is what happened to Sarada. Now, she was sniped by Jura as well in her left hand, I think, and I found it very interesting that Konohamaru was seemingly worried about the damage done to Sarada. He's like, yeah, the bone itself, you know, that structure in your body, it's totally fine, but there seems to be nerve damage, and they're like concerned. I'm like, why? You know, why are you concerned about nerve damage? Just go to Sakura, let her heal it, you know? So maybe I missed something back in medical ninjutsu school in Naruto where, you know, you can't heal nerve damage, or even if you heal it, there's gonna be complications later on, which there technically is like substantial evidence to this in real life, but of course this is not real life. So yeah, it's interesting. You know, maybe you guys can tell me, you know, in the comments if that's something I missed. With that said, Jura did state that Himawari's healing factor surpasses that of any human and Jinchuriki, and it's almost on the level of the Biju. So the keyword there being almost, which is very suspect since the 8 Tails has yet to regenerate that horn that it lost. So maybe that's not the case for every Biju, maybe just specific Biju, but yeah, you know, it's interesting. With that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on the video, let me know your thoughts on the chapter, on the spoilers. I'm looking forward to what happens in this chapter. It's gonna be, seems like it's gonna be like text heavy, and you're gonna get some lore information and what's going on with the story, you know, where it's headed and stuff. You know, we'll see how that plays out. We're not gonna get a fight, I don't think, and that's totally fine for me because I like the chapters where we get more information so I can like think about what's happening with the story. Hopefully we get more information on the Otsutsuki and what's going on with Toneri and that lovely stuff, and even Momoshiki specifically. We haven't seen that guy in a very long time, so we're looking forward to see Momoshiki and what's going on. Of course, we're gonna get the interrogation of Boruto, and I think that's gonna show up in the spoilers, of course. But I'm looking forward to see the reaction of everyone finding out that Kurama is alive, because these characters, they have somewhat of a connection to Kurama. I mean, he was leading the war the entire time, and he has interacted with some of these characters before. So I would like to see like what everyone thinks about Kurama coming back to life, and he's in the child of Naruto for some weird reason that hasn't been explained as yet, but it does imply that it has something to do with his genetic, you know, ancestry. But I'm looking forward to see what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing who the new Shinju is gonna be. Of course, I have the video saying that it's Kakashi, and I know some of you guys are gonna be in the comments of that video when it turns out to not be true, if it's not true. It more than likely isn't true. It's likely gonna be someone else. I don't think it's gonna be the Shinki Shinju. And just to clarify, guys, I'm not talking about the actual Shinki Shinju that was shown in the chapter. I'm talking about the one that was not shown at the end of the chapter. I don't think that's Shinki. I think it's a separate Shinju. So we'll see how that plays out. If it's Kakashi, it'll be cool. If it's not, I'm not gonna lose sleep, you know, it's fine. But of course, I'll see you guys in the comments when you guys want to, like, you know, let me know how wrong I was. But yeah, the chapter looks to be interesting, but you know, we'll see how it goes. With that said, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.